Okay, welcome to my kitchen. I thought I would just do a little yarn haul, haul and chat knitting stuff because I went 2 days ago now. I went to a very niche yarn store, which I've never actually been to a yarn store before. I've only ever been to like craft stores like Joann's and Michael's. So it was very fun for me. I also discovered that it's not very a not very affordable option for someone trying to find like cheaper yarns or trying to make knits that don't go beyond your budget. I think, well, a lot because most of these brands are probably hand-dyed and just smaller companies, I'm assuming. So the prices are a little bit more expensive, which I didn't get that many because of that particular reason. Maybe one day. But the reason that I went in there was because, one, it was Friday. Treat yourself for making it through a work week, and two, because I really wanted to try hand spinning yarn. I've looked into absolutely zero videos of how to actually do this. I'm thinking we just wing it. We decide, maybe watch one video because yeah, it seems like you can do it. It might not be amazing, but it's possible. So it's just one of those ADHD traits where you just want to try every single hobby that exists out there and find one that sticks. And this is my journey of just finding many different hobbies within the fiber arts community umbrella. But anyway, so let's just jump into it. So the first thing that I obviously had to get was the drop spindle, which this is the one I got. I'm not like too happy about it. I think because I saw some like nicer looking ones that were on Etsy and they were a little bit cheaper, particularly this one. I know no diss to this one, but I just feel like it could have been sanded a little better, maybe even like stained. I don't know, maybe I was just looking for a dark wood, but yeah, this one was $24, which is not what I wanted to spend on a drop spindle, but it was the only option. I wasn't willing to wait to order one online because impatience. So I ended up just getting this one. If I do like the process of spinning, then I splurge on another one. But this will be my first, introductory spindle. So of course I had to get yarn with it, wool with it. So this is the first one I picked up, which is by Tiny Owl Yarn. It is 100% Falkland, 2 ounces. The colorway is Forest. Of course there's a nice shine in the plastic, but I just really love, like, you've got like the browns here, the greens, and the blues. There's even like some like oranges that are going on in here. I don't know, it really does give me a forest vibe, but it also kind of gives me like an ocean vibe, which I'm digging. It's actually quite soft. I don't really know what Falkland is, but I was surprised that this was only $10. because it seems like quite a bit. It must be, I don't know, maybe it's lower quality. Or maybe it's just, you know, maybe they just sell it for a nicer price. But yeah, so I got this one, and I'm really excited about it. But the first one I got is this one. So initially, I went on their website of the yarn shop that I wanted to go to, and I was pretty much going in like dead set on a specific wool. It was this like, it was almost like an unbleached with like spots of color that was like a funfetti type of a look, and that's the one I was aiming to go for. Would this look cuter if I put a little plant here? Although this one needs some water. Okay, no, that looks really bad because it needs water. Anyway, so that's the one I was going in there to get. I picked it up. It was like the one I was gonna go for. But then I saw this one, and it was just like, this one spoke to me on a deeper level in person than the other one did to me online. So this is the one that I got. I mean, look how it's like, it goes really well with my like just coloring. So this is by Kim Dyes Yarn, hand dyed in Virginia. So it's kind of local to me. I'm in Maryland, Maryland, DC area, so it's pretty close. This one is in the colorway Beatrix. The fiber is 100% Targi wool, 4 ounces. This is it right here. It's backwards. That's how it rolls. But I just like absolutely love the coloring of it. I mean, it's crazy. Like, as I said before, just wanting to try like every single form of hobby in the fiber arts. Like, I would love to be able to get like unbleached wool and try to like dye it myself. I think that would be really fun. It just seems like really difficult. One, sourcing good wool seems difficult, and then on top of that, figuring out how to dye it also seems very difficult. So right now I'm just relying on spending mass amounts of money for someone else to do it. But it looks beautiful. I even like this little like bleached spot. I don't know, I just find it cute. But at the same time as buying this, I've had a little bit of, what's the word? A contradiction, complexity in my identity as a knitter, and also, so as a knitter, as an environmentalist, someone who has an environmental degree, and as a vegan, yarn has been a difficult process for me, picking the right amounts of yarn. So let me just show one of the last things that I got, and then we'll have that little discussion. So this one I got, and we'll talk a little bit about acrylics. I've been trying to stay a little bit away from acrylics, but I saw this one, and the color, again, just spoke to me. I kept going back to it. I just thought it was just so cute. This is it. It just has all of these, like, look at underneath it here. All of these beautiful colors in here. So it is by Serdar, Jewel Spun, Aaron. It is 100% acrylic. The shade is Sandstone Sunset. Oh, that's upside down. Yeah. So, under license in India. Okay. Anyway. It's funny it says machine washable wool cycle when it's acrylic. So yeah, so I got this one. I've been trying to stay away from acrylics. let me just, okay, there's one more thing that I got. And we'll just finish off the haul and then have a little discussion. So this, I wasn't gonna splurge on. They were a little pricey, but I knew that if I didn't get them, I would regret it. I would be like, damn it, I should have bought those when I saw them. So I got a couple buttons. I've never purchased buttons before. I'm interested in making buttons. I would really love to make buttons out of like shells or sea glass or like things that I've gathered like off of the beach and stuff, even wood. But I think for like things like, you know, like stones and shells and things that are hard like that, I feel like you need like a diamond tipped drill bit or something, which that sounds pretty pricey, you know. But you know, another hobby for the future to try out. But anyway, so this is what I ended up getting. These are little ammonite buttons, and I'm fully fucking obsessed with them. I got 4, and I like literally cannot wait to make a cardigan and put these buttons on it, because I am like fully obsessed with ammonites. I have a very large collection of them. They're one of my favorite fossils. I have a bunch of different kinds. So I was like, I mean, I saw all these and I was like, it's like, it would go against the core of me if I didn't buy these. But yeah, they were like almost $4 a pop, which is a little wild. Anyway, so, okay, we've made it through the haul. I'm not going to say where I got these from just because it is a local shop. But I spent a lot of money. And I don't, you know, whatever. Just splurge a little bit once in a while. Treat yourself for surviving 5 days of work, you know. Anyway, so to get back into the topic of yarn and finding the right kind of yarn for yourself. So for the longest time, I've been knitting for about 10 years on and off now, and crochet for almost a year now, I think. I think I started in June 2021. And for pretty much all of that time, all I ever bought was acrylic yarn. All I ever went to is Joann's. At first I went to Michael's. I don't really like Michael's selection that much anymore. Sometimes they have stuff that's, you know, on sale, but whatever. So those were the places that I got all of my yarn from. I've never been to a yarn shop. I mean, this is literally my first yarn shop haul. And so the whole time I was always buying acrylic. It was the most accessible for me. It was both in terms of finding it and in terms of being able to afford it, especially as like a teenager. Being able to get a skein that's like $3 for like a big thing is really great, and some of them are nice feeling. The texture of the acrylic is really soft, like this one in particular. How much did I say this one was? Oh, this one was $22, not affordable. But this one is super soft, and I am very sensitive to my senses, so touch being very one of those things that, like, if I don't like the feel of it, I'm never gonna wear it, you know? So there are a lot of acrylics that I've found that, you know, feel great, and they're super easy to care for, you know? Being able to just throw them in the washing machine, and that's all you have to do, is it's just so much more accessible. But on the flip side of that is just learning about the different practices that go behind each of these yarn, how they're made, how they're produced, what is the environmental impact of each of these yarns. So for the acrylics, obviously it's plastic, you know, we're making something out of plastic, which is wild. It's wild that we can make clothes out of plastic, because you think plastic and you think like, you know, this little wobble cushion that I have here is plastic. So it's crazy that we can make clothes out of that, but there is a huge environmental impact for that. The footprint behind it is crazy, both in creating it and also just like it. So I also have what I'm currently using right now to knit is Lion brand Respun. It's polyester. It's made from recycled plastics, and that's, you know, it's amazing that we can recycle plastics and create clothes out of them. But that also creates microplastics, you know? When you wash something that is made of plastics, it will break down into microplastics that then go into our water systems, which obviously has a large impact that we don't even fully know how bad it's going to be. And we find microplastics in birds and fish, so they're definitely in people. So it's like we're recycling these plastics, but we're also creating microplastics, and so it's just one of those things that's really difficult to navigate around. I mean, the point is that we shouldn't even be using plastics anymore. We shouldn't be using fossil fuels. But that's a whole other story. So yeah, so you've got the option, and I think it's a really great option. For me, it was a really great option. It was super affordable. It was super easy to find, especially if you're new to the hobby. Like, acrylics is great, and wool, I mean, a lot of people are allergic to animal fibers, and personally, a lot of the wool that I find that is available at like big stores like Joann's, I've personally found that they are a lot scratchier. I've found the first time that I ever splurged on a wool yarn, or just on a yarn in general, was when I bought a We Are Knitters kit. That was the first time I ever had purchased yarn that was like luxury yarn, you know? And I want to be able to buy more luxurious yarns, to be able to create different products in which I feel like they're going to be long lasting. And they're going to be something that stays in my wardrobe for decades. That would be amazing. I mean, that's the goal when you're trying sustainable fashion, slow fashion, to be able to create products in which don't go into a landfill, or something that you use, you know, for years and years and years to come. Whether it be something that was made from acrylic yarn, or whether it be something that was made from, you know, really nice merino wool, if it can be something that's sustainable for you, then, you know, who cares what it was made from, I guess. But yeah, so then to go into the topic of being a vegan, and can I even call myself a vegan now that I've purchased wool yarn, or now that I've purchased actual wool, you know? It's difficult, and I think for me, I found it easier to purchase wool. It's only been in the past year that I've purchased wool, and it's been easier for me to make the purchase when it is like a smaller company like this one, where I feel like you can look into it, you can find out where they've sourced the wool, because not wool isn't always a practice that's, you know, harmful. It's always exploitative, I guess, to take something from someone else or something else, a non-consensual. But, you know, it's a difficult topic because, from what I've looked into, you know, like, sheep, for example, they need a nice shaving to be comfortable. From what I've looked into, I don't know, I mean, I don't really even know the process behind it that well. It's something that I need to do a lot more research on, but if this is from what I've heard from farmers, so you kind of have to trust people who are actually working with these animals, that, you know, as long as it's not one of those things that's like a violent shaving. I have seen videos of like violently shaved sheep where it's like bloody process and they're like screaming and fighting it, but then I've also seen videos of sheep that seem like they're loving it, you know. And I think it's how you care for the animals, and it's something that's going to waste. I saw someone else talking about how they were in contact with a farmer who had all of this wool from when they had shaved their sheep, and it was just sitting there, and they were planning on just throwing it out because they didn't have anywhere that they were like able to sell it to donate it to, and they were like willing to just give it away for free because they just needed to get rid of it, and they were planning on just throwing it away. So I think in that aspect, you know, being able to give it to someone who can turn it into something that's long-lasting, something that doesn't go into the landfill, doesn't create more gases in the atmosphere from being in the landfill, I think that's a great way to use resources that are available to us, and it's all about the exploitation of those animals, the environment in which they live in. So it's difficult, especially like large name brand things, name brand wools, like where are you sourcing it from, what are the conditions. I just put this plant here so you didn't have to look like in my sink full of dirty dishes, and I don't know what the hell what happened there. I also have a hair in my mouth, and I'm just like trying not to, like, you know, do one of those things. Now I just feel like there was a ghost or something, that like a ghost mouse that jumped into the plant. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so the conditions behind. And I think what's crazy is that it was me being introduced to, like, the online fiber community, knitting, crochet, whatever. And, I mean, for, like, the majority of my knitting experience was just me on my own. I wasn't aware. I mean, but when I learned, you know, there were definitely not, like, YouTube tutorials on how to knit. So I ended up taking a community college course, night course, with a bunch of old ladies, literally. So I was, like, just kind of on my own, and I, like, really wasn't aware of, you know, the everything that is out there. And now there's such a large community, and there's so much that you can find online now. There's so many resources, but there's also just a large community, right? And so it wasn't until I was introduced to that community through YouTube, through Instagram, and now having created my own Instagram specifically dedicated to knitting and crochet, is when it kind of opened my eyes up to, like, the fact that there are, like, luxury yarns, and that a lot of people that are popular on Instagram, Knitstagram, whatever you want to call it, are using like very popular brands of wool, luxury wool, and it takes, you know, you definitely start to compare yourself and be like, okay, well, I've been buying acrylics from Joann's for like 10 years now. Maybe I should be buying this more expensive yarn. Maybe I should be buying hand-dyed yarn, hand-spun, whatever. And that has an influence on you. It has an influence on who you are as a maker and how you fit into the community. And now, having been there for like a couple months, I am questioning it and like oh fuck. I hope that's supposed to happen. Questioning how I fit into that community. I think it is. Like, that's why they have this law. Anyway. And who I want to be as a person that's in there, what kind of influence I would want to have, and which then brings you into the next topic of plant-based fibers. And personally, I just I want to try to use more cotton, but also I just really, like I said before, with just issues with texture, a lot of the cotton that I've tried, when I go into feel cotton in a shop, I don't like the way that it feels in my hands. Because I have eczema, I have like really dry hands, and I don't like the way that cotton feels even more drying on my hands. And I recently used the Pima cotton, and I liked it at first, but then it just became like a struggle for me to use to finish my project because I just really disliked the way that it felt on my hands. And I knew, thankfully, that project was for someone else, but I knew that if it was something for myself, I would not want to like have to be feeling it. I mean, I feel the same way with some acrylics, you know. But plant-based fibers are something that I'm looking into. You know, you've got cotton, linen, hemp, bamboo. I do really like bamboo. So, and then there's also, I've seen people with like eucalyptus, there's like banana leaves, and I mean, but the problem is that these plant-based fibers, besides cotton, I think cotton is the most accessible out of all of them. They're harder to find, which then makes them more expensive, and so they're not accessible for everyone. I am currently using a bamboo, I think it's called True Boo from Lion Brand, and I love it. I mean, it feels so silky. I have no idea how it holds up. I have no idea, you know, the integrity of the yarn, but I love the idea of using bamboo for things. I think, you know, it's such a great, I mean, it grows so fast, and it's, you know, it's such a great way to use up bamboo for like so many things sustainably. And it was, you know, the softest. I mean, it's so soft and buttery and silky, and it wasn't that expensive. So I would like to see more plant-based fibers going out, becoming, you know, more affordable, becoming accessible for everyone. Yeah, so that was my long chat about fiber, yarn, what's sustainable, what's, you know, non-exploitative, whatever. That's my little chat. Maybe you listened to the whole thing, maybe you zoned out like I kind of did when I was talking, but yeah, so I'm really excited, anyway, to start spinning this. Whatever, maybe I'll make another video. I usually just make private videos for specific people. I was thinking about making public videos, but like, I don't know. Like, part of me is, loves the idea of like finding a little like niche community, but the other part of me is like, ew, I don't want to be a presence on the internet. So that's kind of something that I'm like, you know, dabbling with. Anyway, maybe you'll see my face again. Maybe never. Maybe this video will never even go public. Who knows? But yeah, so that is my little yarn haul and ethical chat, whatever you want to call it, and maybe I'll see you later in another time. Stay safe.